I have the camera turned off. So basically, you can just kind of listen to me talk, listen to this in the background. You don't have to worry about what's on the screen. So, for anyone that's going to watch this at a later date, just want to say hello, how are you? Based on the title of this live stream, you kind of know what it's all already about. I am going to talk about why I will never use Walmart Pharmacy ever again after a really bad experience today, which was not the first time. I've had several bad experiences with them, and this is where I've decided I'm completely fed up with them. Uh, so if I tell you what happened, obviously you already know the end of the story. The end of the story is I'm never going to go back there ever again. So, it's probably good that I've had some time to like calm down a bit because I was a little worked up earlier when all this happened. So, let me at least try to get into it a little bit. So, obviously, I'm here. I'm here in America. I'm here in the United States. And I think most people can agree that our healthcare system is really, really messed up. And so, if I'm telling someone, hey, you probably shouldn't go to Walmart for your pharmacy, sometimes you don't always have a choice in the matter because like it's all based on what your insurance will cover. So if your insurance makes you go to that pharmacy, then you have to go there. You don't always get to have a choice. uh so that's where I wanted to back up a little. So filling prescriptions, I've talked about some of my health issues on this channel before. So obviously having asthma, sometimes I need to get an inhaler, I need albuterol. Sometimes I've been prescribed steroids for just general breathing and lung issues that I've had with asthma, chronic bronchitis, that sort of thing. I've also had to be on medication for high blood pressure. So over the years, obviously, I, another thing that I've been prescribed, birth control. So over the years, obviously, you go to a pharmacy to get your stuff filled. Okay, so I do want to back up and say there was a time where I used to get my prescriptions filled at Walgreens, and there was one particular medication that I took every month, and I would just go to Walgreens. It was $90 for my prescription. And I just assumed that's how much that medication cost. Yeah, it was expensive, but I figured I need it. So I pay the $90 every month when I get it filled. Well, something happened where I don't quite remember what exactly made me decide to just go get my prescription filled somewhere else. I went to a grocery store. So here in Washington, where I live, there's a grocery store chain called QFC, and so I don't know. I guess I must have thought like, oh, I'll just get it filled there and then do my grocery shopping at the same time. I don't really remember what my whole plan was at that point. But when I went there, they told me my prescription was going to be $19, and I had been paying $90 for months and months prior to this. So I thought, well, they must have made a mistake. And then I'm like, well, I'm not going to tell them they made a mistake. I'm going to get my medication and get the heck out of here before they catch on and realize they made a mistake. Because I just figured $90 was the going rate of that medication I was on. Turns out, no, like you really actually have to shop around. If you go to different pharmacies, it can be a completely different price at a different pharmacy, which I didn't know that. And also because me being on insurance, your insurance usually tells you like you can only go to these pharmacies. So I don't know why one pharmacy was so completely different in price compared to the other. But from that point on, I just started getting all my prescriptions filled at QFC, which, like I said, is a grocery store. But they have a pharmacy inside the grocery store. Okay, so then let's get back to why now I'm using Walmart. So I've probably been using them since last year. And I feel like even from the very beginning, I've run into these issues where it's like the very first time, nowadays, usually like the doctor will just call in a prescription to the pharmacy. They don't give you like a piece of paper and you have to take that paper to the pharmacy. They'll just call it in, or they do it digitally somehow over the phone or over a computer. I'm not really sure how it works because I'm not a pharmacist. But anyway, so they tell me they're going to call in my prescription to Walmart. So I'm like, okay. So then Walmart actually called me and said they got a prescription for me, but it wasn't valid. So I'm thinking, like, what does that mean? Because I never even saw the prescription. The doctor sent it in. I I don't know why it wouldn't be valid. So then they're like, well, you need to call your doctor and have them resubmit it. So then I'm like, okay, great. Because now, you know how it goes. You got to try to get a hold of the doctor's office. Now it's like after hours. So I have to wait till the next day. I have to do all this rigmarole to like get my prescription. So, when it finally all got said and done, like, I'd contacted Walmart again to say, okay, I contacted my doctor. They said they're going to resubmit it. Can you let me know when it's ready? Like, let me know if you got it yet. And then at this point, they're like, oh, no, there was no problem with your prescription. It's ready to be picked up now. And I'm thinking, okay, so you made me jump through all these extra hoops and do all this extra work that I didn't even need to do, yet you never called me to say it was ready to pick up. And so that was my first experience ever dealing with Walmart pharmacy. And so that was not like starting out on a good foot there. So, whatever. So then it's like a month later. And at this point, it's time for me to read my prescription. So, uh, supposedly, like, the doctor sends in so many refills. And then supposedly, I keep saying supposedly Walmart's supposed to text you when your refill or your prescription is ready to be picked up. Okay, so then like I'm waiting and waiting and I'm not getting any texts or phone calls from Walmart. So, finally I decide to just go down there in person and ask like if they have my refill ready. And you know, they were just like kind of like, "Oh, well, you they give me like this whole story about how there's something wrong with the prescription again, how I need to get in contact with my doctor." And I'm thinking like you did this last time. So I was like so frustrated. And I'm like, can't you just like double check? Because last time you said there was something wrong and then it turned out there wasn't anything wrong. And now I'm starting to think the people who work there are a bunch of boneheads, because I don't know what the hell the problem is. Excuse my language. So let's just say that this has been going on since last year, where so now every month when I try to get my refill, there was a time where I'm waiting and waiting and waiting. Supposedly, I confirmed with the doctor. The doctor said they've sent it in. It's refill should be good to go. So there I am. I'm like waiting and waiting. I waited like a good 5 days for them to supposedly call me and say the prescription was ready. So once again, I'm not hearing from them. So I go there in person again. And so they tell me, and this is what I don't know, this is stupid, but they tell me that when they get a prescription, they don't fill it unless the customer requests it to be ready. And I'm thinking like, okay, so you're saying you basically get prescriptions, but you don't do anything with the prescriptions. You just sit on them and you wait till the customer complains and says, "Hey, where's my prescription?" And that's your policy. Like that sounds like a really dumb, inefficient policy. But if that's your policy, that's fine. From now on, every time my doctor tells me that they've sent in a prescription, I'm going to come down here in person and I'm going to say, "Hey, where's my prescription? Why haven't you filled it yet?" Because that's really dumb if that's their policy, that they basically don't do anything at all whatsoever when they get a prescription and they just wait for the customer to call and complain. So now that I know that that's how they do things around there, so for several months, it's been the same old story where, supposedly my doctor has, authorized a refill. Then I have to go down there and tell them, like, "Hey, where's my refill?" And then, like, you know how it is, like when you go there, it's not like they just give it to you right then. Then they like tell you you're going to have to wait for it to be ready. So then usually like I'll wander around Walmart for like half an hour or 45 minutes waiting and waiting to see like if it's going to be ready. And sometimes like they close for lunch in the middle of the day. Like it's just kind of like, you almost like have to spend a whole day there, take all this time out of your life to get this stuff situated when it seems like it should be like a lot more like easy or efficient, but I guess that's not how they do things there. Well, today was like the day of all days where I have just had it. I refuse to even deal with them ever again. Uh Basically, I was supposed to get my refill. Doctor sent it in. I think the doctor sent it in a couple days ago. I hear nothing from Walmart as usual, so I go there in person to ask. And they say, "Oh, your prescription is not valid." Like, again with this? "Yeah, your prescription is not valid. You're going to have to contact your doctor." Okay. So I feel like I've been through this before. I contact the doctor. The doctor's like, well, we can't really tell you anything over the phone. Like, the pharmacy needs to actually call us and then we'll talk to them. And I'm like, okay. So I go back to the pharmacy. Keeping in mind, I have to wait in line. Like, I had to wait in line of, there's many people in line. And then now I have to wait in line again just to get up there and be like, hey, you guys need to contact my doctor. Like, you told me to call my doctor, but the doctor told me that they can't really help me over the phone, that it's actually Walmart that needs to like call my doctor. And, so I'm just kind of like, so what am I supposed to do at this point? Because I've done nothing wrong here. Like, I'm just sitting here trying to pick up my prescription. But no, like, they were just like, oh, well, we can't call your doctor. Somebody already tried calling earlier and we couldn't get through. And I'm like, yeah, well, you need to like call and get this straightened out. Like, I've done my part. I've called. I'm here now. Like, I don't know what else needs to be done. You're telling me this isn't valid. I've been getting the same prescription month after month, and it is valid. And it was valid when, like, I was just so frustrated. I mean, I was obviously like, I don't want to like turn into a Karen and start screaming at people, but like, it's really hard to keep your cool in these situations, especially since like I've been through this over and over with them and I'm sick of it. And, I'm going to definitely look into obviously trying to find a different pharmacy that is covered by my insurance policy so I don't ever have to deal with Walmart ever again. They're like probably the most incompetent people I've ever dealt with. And I'm saying this laughingly, but I am just so frustrated. I'm just so over it. And I'm sure there's lots of people out there that can relate to this, that have, had to jump through many, many hoops and had to like, you go down to the place and then you have to go back home, then you have to call your doctor and you have to do all this stuff, especially if you are dealing with insurance and you have to, oh, it has to be approved by insurance first. And like, the fact that they had told me before about how they don't even fill prescriptions until you come down there and complain, I mean, that should have been like, a sign to me that this is this is like really messed up, that that's how they do things around there. But after today, when they're telling me that the prescription wasn't valid again, which, like I said, this has probably happened 2 times before, and it was valid. And I'm calling my doctor, and the doctor says, yes, it's valid. They just have to call us, and we'll give them the information over the phone. And like, they were just like refusing to call. So then at that point, I'm kind of like, so what happens from here? Because basically, I'm not getting my medication. You're not going to call anyone. The prescription is just going to sit here. And I don't know if you've ever looked into trying to get a prescription transferred to another pharmacy, because in the past I have, where it's like maybe one pharmacy was out of the medication you needed, so they had to send it to another one. Um, so then I'm like, but you're telling me the prescription isn't valid, so you're not gonna transfer it anywhere for me. So like, what am I supposed to do? Because basically I can't get the medication, basically, right? And the prescription is still sitting there at Walmart, and Walmart employees refuse to, I guess, call or follow up with the doctor. Uh, so I really don't know what I'm supposed to do. I guess I just came here to just be like frustrated about it and like go off on a video talking about it, because obviously it helps me to get stuff off my chest. But I just, like I said, obviously here in America, like everyone says, the whole healthcare system is broken and it's all a scam, anyways. But I don't know what to think. I just like, I came on here and I'm ranting and raving. Like, yeah. So I hope you enjoyed this live stream. If I can, I'm gonna try to go live again tomorrow in the morning, because I got a new microphone. I just want to test it out, see how it works. But I definitely want to say thank you for watching today. Hope you enjoyed.